Hello, good evening. I am just preparing for the reading today, waiting to see if anybody joins. Today's chapter is extremely interesting, and I think I have 1 more minute to go before I begin at 9:10 sharp. Ronak, hi. Sandeep, hi. Thank you for joining. क्या हाल हैं आप लोगों के? कैसे हैं आप? All right, so I am going to begin my reading. Today is day 5. For those of you who are new to what this is, I have been reading bits and pieces from this book called The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself, and the author is Michael A. Singer. We are on chapter 4 of part 1. And welcome everybody. If you're going to be watching this live or watching the recording later on, trust me, today's chapter is a very deep dive in the journey beyond yourself. And this is just part 1. So I'll begin over here. Like I said, today, 6th of December, day 5 of this reading. The chapter name is Lucid, the Lucid Self. So here we go. There is a type of dream called a lucid dream, in which you know that you're dreaming. Have any of you ever experienced this? I have. Sometimes in my dream, it's not like I wake up and remember. Oftentimes we don't remember dreams. Sometimes we wake up and remember the dream. But in the dream, you know that you're dreaming, and that is called lucid dreaming. So if you fly in the dream, you know that you're flying. You think, hey, look, I'm dreaming that I'm flying. I'm going to fly over there. You're actually conscious enough to know that you are flying in the dream and that you are dreaming the dream. That's very different from regular dreams, in which you are fully immersed in the dream. This distinction is exactly the difference between being aware that you are aware in your daily life and not being aware that you are aware. When you are an aware being, you no longer become completely immersed in the events around you. Instead, you remain inwardly aware that you are the one who is experiencing both the events and the corresponding thoughts and emotions. When a thought is created in this state of awareness, instead of getting lost in it, you remain aware that you are the one who is thinking the thought. You are lucid. This raises some very interesting questions. If you are the indwelling being who is experiencing all this, then why do these different levels of perception exist? To begin with, consciousness has the ability to do what is called focus. It is part of the nature of consciousness. The essence of consciousness is awareness, and awareness has the ability to become more aware of one thing and less aware of something else. In other words, it has the ability to focus itself on certain objects. And here for some of you who are new joining in, hi Lalita, Thank you for coming on. Objects here doesn't literally mean inanimate, objects, but in this book we've been talking about the subject and the object. So the one who is witnessing what is happening becomes the subject, and what is being observed or witnessed is the object. So that's what this is what he means by saying that awareness has the ability to focus itself on certain objects. For example, when the teacher says, concentrate on what I'm saying. Okay, what does that mean? Who taught you how to do that? Nobody taught you this. It was intuitive and natural. You've always known how to do it. So we do know that consciousness exists. We just don't normally talk about it. For example, the best way to learn about consciousness is through your own direct experience. For example, you know very well that your consciousness can be aware of a wide field of objects, or it can be so focused on one object that you are unaware of anything else. For example, I'll give you an example for this one, what he means by that consciousness can be aware of a wide field of objects. Let's say we're driving, you're not driving, okay, but you're sitting in a car and you're noticing everything that the car, when the car is passing by the buildings, there are people, there are different cars, different vehicles, there's even nature. You could probably be looking at the sky, so you're taking in everything, you're aware of everything. This is outside of you. At the same time, or maybe a moment later, you could suddenly just get so caught up in a thought. It might just strike you that it's already half an hour has gone by and I have very little time to reach the destination, and then you get lost in, or caught up in, not lost, but you get caught up in the trail of thoughts going there, where you have to reach, what you have to do, and it can get more and more focused on not just where you have to go, who you're going to meet. It may even go zero down to what kind of a conversation you may have with that person, or would like to have, or should be having, what that person is going to say, what is going to happen as an end result. So you see, from the wide range of things that you were aware of few moments ago outside of the car that you're in, you're suddenly now focused on what is going to happen, or should happen, or could happen, and all those things. So that's what Michael is talking about here, that consciousness can be aware of a wide field of objects, or it can be so focused on one object that you're unaware of anything else. So when you're thinking about the meeting or the person, you've become unaware of everything else around you. There's even a possibility that it might not even strike you that you're in the car, because somewhere you feel that you're almost there in that meeting room. Okay. There's another example he talks about, like you can be reading and then suddenly you're not reading anymore. So how many times have we experienced something like that? You're reading a book, you're reading the sentences, and then the eyes are still moving, but the thought has gone up somewhere else, and then you come back and realize, okay, I finished reading 3 sentences or a few sentences, but you haven't paid attention, so then you end up reading those sentences. I've done it many times. Hey Afsha, you're here. Ruchika, okay, great. All right, so going back here, outside objects or mental thoughts can catch your attention at any time, but it's still the same awareness, whether it is focused on the outside or on your thoughts. The key is the subject, the consciousness, has the ability to selectively focus awareness on specific objects. The consciousness, that is you, we, me, everybody, we consciousness, and we're aware. So that's what we're talking about here. The subject, consciousness, has the ability to selectively focus awareness on specific objects. When you're not centered, your consciousness invariably gets attracted toward one or more of those objects and focuses on them. If it concentrates enough, your sense of awareness loses itself in the object. It's like the example that I was just talking about. It is no longer aware that it is aware of the object. It just becomes object conscious. You're there in that meeting room. Deeply absorbed. Okay, and here he talks about, let's say, like watching a TV. You're so engrossed in the movie or whatever you're watching on TV that you just become so present to that, what you're watching, that you're not aware of where you're sitting or what you're doing, or things like that. So the TV analogy is perfect for examining how our center of consciousness shifts from awareness of self to being lost in the objects we're focused upon. Sitting in your living room, or you're in your center of consciousness, getting absorbed in the screens of the mind, the emotions and the thoughts and things like that. Yeah, yes, Sarita, many times we go blank. Exactly. Right? So sometimes it's even nostalgic, because there are our senses also get involved. You may be watching TV outside or your TV in your mind, and you just see something, let's say on the TV outside, or you see somebody and you get reminded of something you had experienced in your childhood, and that's when we call nostalgia. It's like you're almost like you're there, present there. Let's look at your inner show. You have an underlying pattern of thoughts that goes on around you all the time. This pattern of thoughts stays pretty much the same. Now I'd like you to listen to this paragraph because I've marked it 3 times, okay? You have an underlying pattern of thoughts that goes on around you all the time. This pattern of thought stays pretty much the same. You are as familiar and comfortable with your normal thought patterns as you are with the living space of your home. You also have emotions that are your norm, a certain amount of fear, a certain amount of love, and a certain amount of insecurity. Sometimes we call this our comfort zone. You know that if certain things happen, one or more of these emotions will flare up and dominate your awareness. Then, eventually, they will settle back down to the norm. You know this so well that you are very busy inside making sure nothing happens to create these disturbances. In fact, you are so preoccupied with controlling your world of thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations that you don't even know you're in there. That is the normal state for most people. When you are in this lost state, you get totally... It's overwhelming. It's 3-dimensional. It's all around you. All of your senses draw you in: sight, sound, taste, smell, touch, as well as your feelings and your thoughts. If you want to recenter, he gives a very interesting tool here. If you want to recenter, say hello inside. Say it a few times. Hello. And just brings you back. Notice that you're aware of that thought. You become aware of saying hello. Try that. Hi, Rachna. Absolutely, I totally agree. It remains unchanged, and we tend to go back to our comfort zones time and again, unless we challenge ourselves to face and try anything and everything new. Absolutely, yeah. So when you become aware of yourself, that is your seat of centered consciousness. Okay? He's giving an example of, studying consciousness or becoming aware of consciousness using the example of a movie. He says that it reminded me actually of the movie The Matrix, being plugged in. So he says, imagine what if there is a movie hall that you can go to, okay? Now, we know that when we're watching a movie, our visual sense and our auditory sense is what is completely active there, present, engaged. Okay, we have more. What if there was a movie where someone's eating something and you're able to smell that? Okay, so there's another. What if you're able to taste that? They're serving that dish, what is being eaten over there. Okay, so you're even getting the taste of that. So all the five senses, and just imagine if someone is being hugged, you're able to experience that. That's like really mind-blowing, right? What an awesome theater that would be. But imagine all the five senses. And then he takes it a notch up to imagine if if there is a scene going on where the actor is feeling very anxious or nervous, and you're so plugged in with all your senses that you're actually feeling nervous yourself. Sometimes it's happened to us when we're so watching engrossed watching a movie. Let's say it's a horror movie, and you can feel the horror in your body growing, the fear growing sometimes. So you're so engaged and you're so present, and he calls it being plugged in. So imagine that is happening. With this movie experience, you're hearing, seeing, tasting, and suddenly you begin feeling the character's emotions and thinking the character's thoughts. Okay? Imagine going to that movie and getting plugged in. That would be the end of you as you know yourself, because now you're there. It's like that movie Matrix. Really, it reminded me, just it like behind, you just plugged in. There is no you in there that says, I don't like this movie, I want to leave. You've become part of that completely. Now you are completely lost. How will you ever get out? It's as scary as it sounds. All of the objects you're aware of are synchronized. You get sucked in and are no longer aware of your separateness from the objects. The thoughts and the emotions move in accordance with the sights and the sounds. It all comes in, and your consciousness gets totally absorbed in it. Unless you're fully seated in witness consciousness, you're not back there being aware that you're the one watching all of this. That is what it means to be lost. The lost soul. This line was so, it really resonated with me. There was a time that I was going through this. The lost soul is the consciousness that has dropped into the place where one's human thoughts, emotions, and sensory perceptions are all synchronized. When the consciousness gets sucked in, it no longer knows itself as itself. It knows itself as the objects it is experiencing. Here again, I'll remind you, it's not the object, but it could be a situation that you're so, sometimes we say things like, I'm just not able to forget what happened. And when you talk about it, you end up reliving that. And then you're just so drawn into that emotion or drawn into that whole experience, and you're just all wound up and feeling really messed up with the whole thing. And then there's a whole rage of emotions that may come up, or you may just completely get sucked into it, because you're not watching or you're not witnessing yourself. You're literally reliving an experience. You're plugged in to a memory in the past. When the consciousness gets sucked in, it no longer knows itself as itself. That means the awareness is gone. You're not being aware. You're being that human experience. You think you are the sum of your learned experiences. Wow, this line, so often. Just this afternoon, I was telling somebody, and then when I came back home and I was reading this book again, I'm like, oh my God, I need to stop saying things like that. I said, you've become who you are because of all your experiences. After this awareness, I can no longer say that to people. You've become who you are because of all your experiences. No, you are consciousness. My whole therapeutic approach is going to be different now. I don't even have that voice in me telling me you should say this, you should stop saying this. It's just I'm experiencing a blankness right now. Yet I'm so eager to share this with you. You think you are the sum of your learned experiences. Remember, your self-concept is just a collection of thoughts about yourself. It is all just something consciousness is experiencing. It is all just objects of consciousness, and you are the consciousness. All consciousness is the same. All awareness is the same. Consciousness is neither pure nor impure. It has no qualities. It's just there. The difference is that when your consciousness is not centered within, it becomes totally focused on the objects of consciousness. When you are a centered being, however, your consciousness is always aware of being conscious. I'm going to read that line again. Consciousness is neither pure nor impure. It has no qualities. It's just there, aware that it is aware. The difference is that when your consciousness is not centered within, when you, the being, you're not centered within, it becomes totally focused on the objects of consciousness. That's what we've been talking about. When you are a centered being, however, your consciousness is always aware of being conscious. Consciousness can focus on anything. That being the case, what if consciousness were to focus on itself? When that happens, you're aware that you're aware of your thoughts. Wow, that's like, it's like that telescope. You're seeing something, and then you just pull it open, and then you pull it back again. It's like boom, boom. That's the kind of feeling I got when I read this line. What if consciousness were to focus on itself? When that happens, you're aware that you're aware of your thoughts. You have turned the light of consciousness back onto yourself. This is true meditation. True meditation is beyond the act of simple one-pointed concentration. For the deepest meditation, you must not only have the ability to focus your consciousness completely on one object, you must also have the ability to make awareness itself be that object. I'm getting goosebumps as I'm reading this and sharing it with all of you. For the deepest meditation, you must not only have the ability to focus your consciousness completely on one object, you must also have the ability to make awareness itself be that object. In the highest state, the focus of consciousness is turned back to the self. Meditation is the return to the root of your being. Once you become conscious of the consciousness itself, you attain a totally different state. You are now aware of who you are. As you pull back into the consciousness, this world ceases to be a problem. It's just something you're watching. It keeps changing, but there is no sense of that being a problem. The more you're willing to just I love this line, guys, you've got to listen to this one. The more you are willing to just let the world be something you're aware of, the more it will let you be who you are, the awareness, the self, the Atman, the soul. I've put three stars, like, a teacher putting stars in the notebook if you like absolutely correct answer. The more you are willing to just let the world be something you're aware of, the more it will let you be who you are, the awareness, the self, the Atman, the soul. You realize you're not even a human being. You just happen to be watching a human being. You will begin to have deep experiences within your own center of consciousness. These will be deep, intuitive experiences of the true nature of self. You will find that you are tremendously expansive. You can move from the finite to the infinite. Who am I? There is no intellectual answer. You are the answer. Be the answer, and everything will change. It's like bowing to the truth of your own soul. When the soul recognizes its own being, it is to become aware of, to be aware of being aware of your soul. It cannot be described. You just go speechless. That's what has been happening to me in the past few days. That sense of centeredness. हर चीज हो रही है रोज जैसे होती है, मेरे साथ ही हो रही है, बट मैं देख रही हूँ. I'm witnessing. I'm witnessing what is happening to the human part that I am in here. I'm witnessing what is happening to my children. I'm witnessing what is happening to my cat. I'm witnessing driving. I'm realizing where I am not being the consciousness. Like I shared a while ago, client को मैंने क्या कहा और फिर एहसास हुआ, wow, it's beautiful. So that, my dear fellow travelers, my beautiful beings of joy and light, that we are all on this planet, it's all just an experience. Watch yourself and witness it, and just see how, just watch. Problems ऐसे प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं लगेंगे. बड़ा मज़ा आता है, करके देखते हैं रोज़. And so that brings us to the end of chapter 4, and it also brings us to the end of part 1. Like I've been saying right from the beginning, इस book में there are 3 parts. Part 1 has come to an end in day 5. Part 2, we are going to begin with experiencing energy. And the next chapter is infinite energy, something I've left you with, something that Michael has left you with, just to tickle you a little more so that you can come join me tomorrow. You can move from the finite to the infinite. Then when you ask, who am I? There is no intellectual answer. You are the answer. Be the answer, and everything will change. So until tomorrow, join me 10 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Good night.